Hey friends, Shay here. So today I'm here to talk to you about the best books that I have read in the year of 2023 so far. So with this video, as always, my caveat is these weren't necessarily published in 2023, but they are the year in which I've read them. All of these are 5-star reads for me. I have thoroughly enjoyed each and every one of them, so I wanted to talk about them with you. So let's go ahead and dive into this list. I have a couple that I'm going to do like my physical copies of them because there's fun things about that, but I am just really excited to dive into the list because it's such a fun list. First up, one of the best books I've read this year is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is a very inspiring and moving novel about a tea monk because they were a different kind of monk. They weren't satisfied with the life they were living, and they decided they were going to go be a tea monk. And they go and venture off on their own and try to find a new life's purpose. Along the way, they come across a robot named Mosscap, and it's a sentient robot, and it's all about exploring humanity through both of their experiences. It's a beautiful thing. I have tabbed it a bit. I don't know if you can really see them very well. So I've got a few there, and I absolutely loved the reading experience. I did a dual reading experience where I listened and physically read and annotated at the same time. So I had a great time. Would thoroughly recommend that kind of an experience reading this book. I'm going to do the same for Prayer for the Crown Shy sometime in this next quarter, and I just would highly recommend checking this one out if you haven't. It's nice and short, so if you're not a big book reader, it's still a great one to read. This next one is not a small book, but still one of my favorites that I've read so far this year, and that is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Yes, I am part of the Kickstarter, so I have the nice fancy edition here. I've got a whole unboxing with this and its box. I'll leave that linked in the corner. But essentially, this is all about Tress. And Tress is this girl who lives on this island, and essentially the plot is The Princess Bride if Buttercup went after Wesley instead of sitting around waiting for him. So this is a fun piratey adventure on a very unique kind of sea, and I really enjoyed my reading experience of this. If you were familiar with the tale of The Princess Bride, you might notice some beats here, but honestly, that didn't take away from my reading experience. This does have the charming narration of Hoyd, who is a Cosmere character, and if you're familiar with the Cosmere, you will definitely enjoy the Hoydisms that are going on here. This was just a really fun reading experience for me. I did take my time reading the digital copy that I have. I have not read the physical one yet, but I have flipped through and looked at all the beautiful images. I mean, look at these end pages even. The art in this edition was done by Howard Lyons, and it was absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited for Secret Project 3 as well, because it is more romance forward for a Sanderson tale, kind of like this one was, so I think I'm really going to enjoy that one. So the next one I'm going to talk about, even though I have a physical copy of it, it is buried right now under things that I'm going to be getting rid of. So it is A Soul to Keep by Opal Rain. Y'all have been hearing me rave about this book. This is essentially a book inspired by The Ancient Magus Bride and Demon Slayer. So if you're an anime fan, this is definitely a romance book for you. This is explicit romance, so if that's not your thing, definitely stay away. But in this one, we have Orpheus, who is our big Elias-inspired character who is a Duskwalker. And basically, every 10 years, they come and they claim a bride. And so Orpheus has been trying to learn about humanity and love and things like that through the brides that they have had. He just sets up some very specific rules in the beginning, and our heroine is basically like the outcast of this village, and so no one wants her there, and so she tries to make it work so that she doesn't die, and they end up falling in love along the way, and it was fun. It was just a really beautiful experience for me. Orpheus is such an amazing character. I really enjoyed his perspective. And I just had a great time with this one. Like, I have zero regrets about reading this book. I went in a little hesitant because I'm like, I really love The Ancient Magus Bride. He's clearly based on Elias. Are they going to mess with what I love about the character? And they definitely didn't. So it was a fun experience all around. The next one I have a dedicated reading vlog for, so I'm not going to say too much about it here, but that is Love Letters for Joy by Melissa C. Yes, I do know Melissa C. personally, but that does not take away from the fact that they are a brilliant writer, and I would definitely recommend both of their novels. Love Letters for Joy is a Cyrano de Bergerac retelling that is full of queer joy and love, and I absolutely enjoyed my experience with this one as well. So I will leave that vlog so that you can get all of my thoughts along the way on that one. The next one I don't have a physical copy of yet, and that is The Cat Who Saved Books. So this is a novel translated from Japanese to English, and this one is a really interesting one. So we have a teenage boy whose grandfather has passed away and left him the bookstore where he had kind of found his refuge and things like that. The first night after everything's done, this cat comes by and says, "Mr. Proprietor, we have to go save these books." And so they go on adventures in this parallel universe kind of thing where they go and save the books that are being mistreated. And so it's a really interesting look at humanity through how they treat books. It's a very interesting novel. And again, it's not a long one, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. I experienced it through audio through my library. So I would definitely recommend reading it in any format you can get your hands on. The audio was nice, and the physical reading experience, I'm assuming, will be just as nice, because I do plan on rereading it and annotating it at some point this year. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The next one is another one that is buried behind things, and this is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is by far and away my favorite read from the reading experience of the Goodreads video that I'm very proud of that I did this year. It was a collab video that I did with a bunch of people about the Goodreads winners of the last 10 years, and The Great Alone was absolutely deserving of its win that year. There are some unpopular opinions in that video as well, so I think you'd find it interesting. I will leave that linked in the corner. But back to The Great Alone, this is basically a historical fiction taking place in the 1970s, in which we're primarily following the perspective of a 13-year-old girl starting out. And her dad is back from the Vietnam War and experiencing what we would now call PTSD. He's not dealing with life. He's not getting back into things. He keeps getting fired from work, things like that. And there is domestic abuse going on in her home. Her dad takes things out on her mom. He gets offered a piece of property up in rural Alaska, and he's like, "Let's go live there. We'll go live off the grid, and things will be better, I promise." And so they make this big, giant move, leave everything behind, and go live there. And it's about the experience of her learning not only to survive in the Alaskan wilderness at the time off the grid, but also the experience of growing up so isolated with such a bad home and what that means, and falling in love along the way. You basically span, I believe it's like 10 or 12 years of her life. So it's a beautiful moving piece. This is by Kristen Hanna. Again, one of my favorite reads from the entire experience, and I would definitely recommend picking this one up if you haven't. I like it better than I liked The Nightingale, so if The Nightingale didn't quite work for you, I would recommend trying The Great Alone. I mean, I still like The Nightingale fine, but I prefer The Great Alone to The Nightingale. We'll leave it at that. The next one I do not have a physical copy of yet, and that is The House Witch, Volume 1 by Del Mock. I've only read the first volume, but this is essentially about a Howl's Moving inspired castle. Well, no. This is like a Howl's Moving Castle inspired hero. He's very much based on Howl, and basically his magical power only works within what he calls his home. And he gets a job as a cook in a castle, and it's about the experiences and discovery of his magic by other people there. And he has a very small kitchen staff so that his secret remains his own. His familiar ends up showing up in the form of the cat on this cover, and it's just a really fun experience. I cannot wait to delve into the second one because I've just had a great time with them. If you're looking for a really fun, cozy fantasy, this is a great one. The next one I have here is another fantasy novella series that I've gotten into this year, and this is I believe it's called the Singing Hills cycle. So The Empress of Salt and Fortune and the books after that. I do have a digital copy of the fourth book that I plan on getting into this week. So anyways, in this, we're following Cleric Chi and their adventures collecting stories from all around. I don't want to say too much more than that because it is a novella series, but Chi is our primary perspective, and we do get their experiences getting multiple sides of stories and things like that. So it's a really brilliant, brilliant book. It's very well done. These are by Niveau, and I can't wait to read the fourth one. I'm very, very excited. The next one I have here, I do not have a physical copy of either, and that is Bluebeard's Curse by Regine Abel. Now, normally I would have one of the I Married A books on this list, but Bluebeard's Curse is a standalone that I loved just as much as those, so I decided to opt for it on this list. This is a take on Bluebeard that's a little bit unique, and there's some really interesting things going on here. So again, I don't want to say too much. If you're familiar with the Bluebeard tales and stories, you'll know some of the beats here. But anyways, I really enjoyed this standalone novel of hers. And for those who don't know, Regine Abel is an author of color who writes alien and paranormal style romances. So that's all I'm gonna say with you leading into the Bluebeard's Curse. I really loved her take on it. It worked out brilliantly for me. This might not work for everybody just because of the nature of the setup, but I honestly would still recommend it. I think it's worth giving a try. You can check it out through Kindle Unlimited if you're unsure, but I'm going to be picking up a physical copy and rereading it because I really, really enjoyed it. And the last one I have for this list, even though I have many more 5 stars, I'm going to leave a playlist of like my reading wrap-ups and logs and vlogs so that you can look up anything through what I've read through the year. And that is King of Wrath by Anna Wong. Now, yes, I've read most of the Twisted series this year and I really loved them, but there's something about King of Wrath that just hit different for me. Dante is a different kind of hero than we have in the other books, and I really love the way this arranged marriage of convenience kind of worked, and I really had a great time with the setup here. Both our hero and our heroine have a lot to offer the story. They both have very rich and fleshed out backgrounds that tie into how they interact together, and it all weaves in that perfect romancy way that I love. All of Anna Wong's books have hit really nicely for me. There hasn't been a one that I hated at all. My least favorite is probably Twisted Love, which is an unpopular opinion. I just feel like Alex did some unforgivable things, so that's a me thing, not an everybody else thing. A lot of people hate on Josh more than they hate on Alex, and I disagree. I hate on Alex more than I hate on Josh, because Josh at least realized the wrong and corrected it quickly, rather than waiting years to correct the problem and come groveling back. So I really just love Dante. Dante is like the best Anna Wong boyfriend for me. I have not read King of Pride yet. I plan on reading that soon, but I've heard that that's going to be a good one for me as well. So we'll see which one ends up on the list by the end of the year. I do think a lot of these will end up on my end of the year list because these are things that are just sticking with me and I'm thoroughly enjoying. So with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you are here just because you love me, leave me an emoji that represents how you're feeling right now at the end of this list. Or if you want something else to say, let me know one of your favorite reads down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
It's been raining for days now, been running like a child. Can't feel the cold, well I'm lost here with you, lost in the woods. Lost as I should.